An airplane is capable of a steady 20-degree climb.
I hate work.
All right? That means this bottom line is your runway or your ground. And when the plane leaves the ground, it's climbing into the air at a 20-degree angle from the ground. It's called an angle of elevation. All right. We need to figure out how much altitude the jet will gain. What does that mean? How high it is above the ground when it has traveled 1 kilometer.
So you
X is the opposite, right?
So you're trying to find this. This is your altitude, and an altitude is always perpendicular. Okay?
So you sine.
All right. Here's our designated angle. We know opposite. Actually, we're looking for opposite. We know hypotenuse. But look at this. It says answer. Put your answer in meters.
pick it a decimal.
No.
You gotta
Convert kilometers to meters. Kilo is a factor of 1,000. There are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer.
Point.
Okay?
That's why I said 3.
Oh, 3 zeros. I thought
Yeah.
you meant times 3. I was like, what?
Zeros.
All right.
Because I have the decimal, so I'm trying how many times to move it.
So the sine of 20 is equal to the opposite, which is our altitude, over the hypotenuse, which is 1,000. Okay, how do we plug this into our calculator?
You multiply by 1,000. Divide by 1,000.
1,000 times the sine of 20. And the answer needs to be rounded to the nearest 50, which means your answer, what is it closer to, the nearest 100 or the nearest 50? We'll figure out the answer.
It's 342.
342. Is that closer to 300 or 350?
350.
It's closer to 350,
Why to the nearest 50? Just because you felt like it?
just because they felt like it. Now, let's talk about why this might be important. Okay?
I like it when you
You're
give us
this
all
innovative
like
entrepreneur, whatever, and you decide, I am going to build an airport in Colorado in the midst of all those mountains. And I'm going to make it super fancy. And you go and you make a fancy runway and you do all this crazy stuff, but you don't take into consideration how much of a distance it's going to take before an airplane gets enough feet above the ground to clear the mountain.
Oh.
And then right into a flock of birds and gone to the Hudson River.
So, it's very important to know how much distance is required for the airplane to be high enough that it doesn't crash into the side of a mountain, correct? Okay, so this is kind of an example of how that could be
Or a
used.
skyscraper, huh?
Or a skyscraper.
A sky.
Or a 75-meter pole.
Or a DS thing.
Okay.
Oh, that,
Whoa!
that
Maybe
is
I had some
crazy.
fun last
It's
night.
homework.
Wait, can I
So are you just looking up random
Almost got in trouble for having help on my computer.
Because he
Oh,
was
yeah.
making fart noises.
Okay, let's go. Shh. Your homework assignment is page 314 to 315, 2 through 12 the evens, and number 15 and 17, which are word problems like we just did, but the picture is drawn for you.
We had to do that in physics, except it was a lot harder.
Okay.
It was worded off physics.
Physicsy. And that's why Homer's coming up with his little eyebrows bouncing up and down, because there's more to come.
Let me guess. It's a project.
Yes, you have a project due Tuesday.
Watch this one.
Worth 50-point quiz grade. It's
Good.
not hard. It's really not hard, I promise. Okay? And here's our project. All right. Grandpa has recently been put in a wheelchair.
Can you move
And
it?
he has steps going into his house. So he needs you to build a ramp
Oh,
so
no,
that he
it's
can
me.
get into his house. The bottom of the door frame sits, well,
Should I write this whole thing down?
Or can we find it online?
it's online. The bottom of the door frame sits 34 inches above the ground. You need to design a triangular frame. So it's going to be a right triangle, okay?
On paper.
On paper.
Okay, good.
It's going to be we're going to use pipe, like some strong pipe welded together, and then we're just going to put the boards on top of it. Because he lives in a very muggy, wet atmosphere and we don't want the wood to rot. So that's why we're using pipe. Plus it's stronger. Okay? All right. You need an adequate angle of elevation, meaning do not put poor grandpa's ramp like this. Okay?
That'd be pretty fun.
Grandpa will never make it back into the house. And if he does, he will die coming out. Okay?
Wait,
That'd
so
be fun to
we
get.
choose the angle?
You choose the angle. All right? You want an adequate angle. You can go online and look at different types of elevations that are used for handicap things, whatever. Okay? It's already online.
Okay.
Okay?
So we can click on a map base and we'll,
Yep.
okay.
I want a diagram, which should just be a triangle, with the 3 lengths of the sides. So I need to know how much pipe is going to stand up on the side of the house, how much pipe is going to run along the ground, how far out is it going to go, and then how much pipe is needed that the actual ramp is going to be built on. And I want the 3 angle measures. Well, one of them's 90. There you go. You already got one. Okay? And I want your calculations. If you have to do sine, cosine, whatever, I want that calculation on the paper.
Do we have
Okay.
to use the 34 somewhere in here since it's
The 34 basically is your height.
So we're not
Okay.
gonna make it any taller.
The bottom of the door frame is 34 inches. So he just needs to get to the door frame.
So we just need, so that's gonna be 34, so it's gonna be 34, 90, we choose this, and then we find out the angles based on how long.
Right.
how
Your
long
your
it is.
key is this angle measure right here. Because you want this angle measure to be something he can wheel himself up on and come back down on without like flying out of his
Will
wheelchair.
that be decided by the 34?
No. This
34 is the
angle
height.
will decide how far away and how
Low.
Well, I mean, he
Cool.
doesn't really get to ride any rides anymore, we can't make it fun for him.
yeah, can you see? Wait!
Flat.
All right. That's it.
We should stop recording for the person who's bored.
Can't go to the bathroom.